Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at why the government hates TikTok so much. Ladies and gentlemen, TikTok is apparently being sued by several states. One of the key infringing aspects was the fact that TikTok allows kids to be exploited through live streaming. Kids are being mentally, tortured through algorithms that TikTok provides, and their personal information is being hijacked by this Chinese company. Now, I want to start this video off by telling you and asking you a question. Do you think the internet is safe for children? Honestly, I would say probably not these days, okay? There's a lot of applications and a lot of games, a lot of groups that are specifically out there targeting children. And I'm not saying that things were somehow different back during my day. When I was a kid, the internet wasn't as mature as it is now. But I think the internet can still be used safely by children, providing that their parents do something known as parenting in order to make sure their children are safe accessing the interwebs. You don't just leave a child unfettered access to the internet. That's just bad stuff waiting to happen. So to start this off with, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I wanted to go off with was obviously talking about, crazy articles that I would find on the internet, right? That would talk about how the internet was allowing kids into virtual clubs. So this one piece by the BBC back in 2022 made me laugh as soon as I got to the part where they talk about VR chat. So VR chat, for anybody that doesn't know, is a user-generated content-ridden application where you can just basically talk to people with, VR goggles. It was where like Ugandan Knuckles was sort of a meme. It's a place where you can get access to and basically go into tons of safe for work rooms. But there's plenty of rooms where you can go and sit and attend virtual strip clubs, okay? Now, is VR chat any different than a bunch of kids loading up Grand Theft Auto 5 that their parents bought them and going to the Vanilla Unicorn together? I would say the GTA version might be a bit more titillating. The VR chat might be a bit more cringe-inducing. But of course, to me, this isn't much different than like adult video websites that typically age-gated back in the day by going out of their way and saying, hey, are you 18 or not? Now you find me a child that ever clicked on, oh my God, I am under 18. I better get off this website. Dog, no child was that stupid. Everyone clicked on the, oh yeah, I'm like 30 years old. I'm good. And then you get access to their websites, and the websites don't care as long as you get traffic and revenue that comes out of anybody accessing your website. So of course, the other thing that I ended up seeing recently that blew my mind was this one actual research paper by the Hindenburg Research Group, where it was published a couple days ago, and it's titled Roblox, Inflated Key Metrics for Wall Street and a Pedo Hellscape for Kids. Now, obviously, with a title like that, Hindenburg Research is putting a fucking lot of legal pressure onto their ass. But they talk about crazy stuff on Roblox. They talk about how tons of children access it and how it's a botted platform in the sense of showing tons of people on the actual internet using bot tools to create multiple instances and access Roblox, as they've even done themselves here. So in one case, they linked to this one Vietnamese group with like 55,000 members, but yet they can only muster 3 likes, where they've got these, crazy rigs that are designed not just for gaming, but to also host tons of these like virtual farms where they're running these mobile games, they're running instances of Roblox, like up to 30 in some cases, all for the benefit of actually farming. So in this case, according to Hindenburg Research, they were just grabbing Blox Fruit, like one of the most popular games, and selling in-game farmed assets for like $45, okay? The fact that you can make a shit ton of money like this shows that even in today's day and age, if you're a hustler, you can eat pretty well. So of course, the more you go down into it, the wilder it ends up getting, but where it really gets into a really scary landscape is when they talk about their part 2, where they showcase tons of screenshots from games like School Simulator, where I'm going to block this, by the way, but, obviously the words I'm censoring is the R word, the N word, the B word, and a certain symbol that was used by the German government between the decades of the 20s and the 40s, okay? Wild shit! So the more you go down into it, the more you realize that there's tons of games that are just sitting unfettered, like tons of accounts too, like for instance, Jeff Epstein supporters just running their account over here, spending times in Kids Relief Concert. Seems like a pretty, it seems normal. And then of course, the more you go down into it, the more you find really disgusting stuff like this Adult Studios group wall, where again, they even link to it as well too, where you can read it entirely. Oh, well, that group has been locked. Wonder why? And you can see stuff like where these people are talking about selling stuff like profile for, discs, 8-inch, femboy selling to, ad for a, This is an app for kids looking for a sugar daddy. We'll do. I love how they did S equals H DHVA just so they can bypass the shitty Roblox moderation. We'll do anything you say for money. How much you want to bet these are all like 40-year-old gooners sitting together on Discord trying to siphon money out of each other, dude? So yeah, obviously it's pretty fucked up reading this kind of stuff. And when you start looking more into it, you start to realize that, yes, even in some in-app experiences where they're running apparently like these, strip clubs and like videos that are adult, you'll find out that they're actually, pushing insufficient funds or trying to get people to purchase alleged videos, right? Or purchase like things through the in-game microtransactions. And then, of course, you'll find tons of games like, Escape from, The Road to Diddy's Diddy Party, Freaky Diddy Simulator, Diddy Survival, Survive Diddy New, Child Labor. Dude, this is fucking insane, bro. And of course, they don't even hide it. They just like straight up show you, like if you look for it, you'll find it, literally, like keyword Diddy. Bust all over her body and hair. Yeah, I think we're done with that one. Oof, goddamn. Never thought I'd be looking at Roblox titties at some point today, Jesus. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, to go back to the original point of this, TikTok, right? TikTok is being currently sued by, again, tons of US government agencies right now for, again, their lack of taking care of these children and, unfortunately, possibly violating the privacy statutes and, harvesting data from these children. So there's one lawsuit that I was looking at, which is, again, from this redacted public filing. And again, there's plenty of other actual complaints from, instance, the state of Vermont versus TikTok, where they actually talk about numerous things. Like, for instance, they talk about TikTok knows prolonged and compulsive use of its app is dangerous and harms the well-being of this state's children, right? They use coercive design to induce overuse in ways that harm children, right? So they talk about filters, push notifications, TikTok Live, the infinite scrolls, and again, that all important algorithm, the recommendations engine. So when they talk about kids being exploited through the live system, I'm going to go exactly to page 69 where they discuss this specifically. They say that TikTok knows live drives financial and exploitation of children, contrary to its representations and commitments to safety. So TikTok represents that it does not allow content that may put young people at risk of psychological, physical, or developmental harm. The company further expresses, we are deeply committed to TikTok being a safe and positive experience for people under the age of 18. So when they talk about it, they say the company knows the live is unsafe and exploits children financially. Like operating in part like a virtual strip club, Live provides young streamers with a performance stage and allows other users to entice streamers into acts for exchange of virtual money. So as they described, they said that it encourages users to buy coins and send gifts. You know those NPC like TikTok memes where they're just like spamming them with gifts? That's what it's like here. The company is fully aware that these monetary rewards encourage predatory behaviors or soliciting, or whatever blank is, or soliciting gifts in exchange for promises during live streams that are never fulfilled. Research confirms this. Study shows that younger generations report higher rates of victimizations from online fraud, like whatever, than adults. TikTok knows this well, admitting that blank on live leads to blank, 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 blank. In fact, even pretty recently, there was apparently an internal investigation allegedly at TikTok with actual documents apparently uncovered by NPR and Kentucky Public Radio, where apparently the actual executives were pretty aware of the harm that the app actually caused teens, for instance. And they did discover that there was a high number of underage streamers receiving gifts or coins in exchange for stripping. So if this is something that is so, blatantly happening, this isn't even the first time discovered. There's a great video by Upper Echelon Gaming who actually dove into the subject as well about over a year ago, where he pretty much explained that this situation has been happening. And to be honest with you, I don't really agree that TikTok, didn't have any idea of it even when that video came out. This was something that was kept under the rug, in my opinion, until obviously state lawsuits had to be filed against TikTok for them to even acknowledge this. So they reference this one Forbes article, like how TikTok Live became oh, God, dude, these headlines are insane, bro. Reports that teens and other users were being exploited over live, where older adults entice younger users live streaming to perform explicit acts in exchange for gifts. These included a 14-year-old who told viewers that they were paying her bills in exchange for viewing all. So immediately they start even listening to the CNN, which this is all new to me. Apparently CNN created a test account for a 14-year-old, and just after 17 minutes of use on the first day, the account was flooded with suggestive live recommendations in the For You feed on the user's account. These included live videos of girls in short shorts, with the reporter stating all we're really seeing is this girl's bottom in the frame. It looks like that's the point of this video. So it almost feels similar to like Twitch TV, like when like, you know, you start to see like a lot of these like bikini streamers who are on like a website that is, you know, intermixed with like adults and kids, and with like these bit systems, with like all these donation systems in place, you know, kids really are taking advantage. You really are bringing a strip club over to the kiddos. Except, at least in Twitch's case, I don't see anybody under the age of 18 you know, becoming a bikini streamer. It seems like on TikTok, really, it seems like anybody under the age of 18 is just allowed to, you know, kind of access like this pretty unfettered. And that's one of the claims being brought against TikTok. So in another redacted public filing over here, they talk about TikTok knows the prolonged compulsive use of its app proposes a profound risk to the harm and mental health of an adult or a young person's well-being. So again, going to like that exact page over here, what they're talking about specifically is children are a crucial market for TikTok. They are highly connected to the internet, more likely to have more social media accounts, and more likely to spend their free time on social media swiping through an app. Additionally, children often influence the behavior of their parents and younger siblings, opening potential market for other age groups. So TikTok admitted the app only blank blank, but that blank blank, TikTok is well aware and exploits how valuable kids are to its business. Yet, because their still developing minds are susceptible to social media overuse and the myriad harm it inflicts, they're a especially vulnerable market, and TikTok knows indeed has carefully studied all of this. So they start talking about how obviously children are young. They start to go into the idea of dopamine systems, participate in the neural coding of reward and motivated behavior. The precise area that is stimulated by reward patterns, like those leveraged by TikTok, the heightened sensitivity of the dopamine system during adolescence, coupled with the underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, makes 13 to 17-year-olds on TikTok highly susceptible to risky behaviors, temptations, and manipulations by the reward systems. So obviously the reward system being those likes and promotions, right? And that's why you probably see a lot of those insane TikTok challenges that occur, where kids put themselves into harm's way for a lot of those likes. Something you probably won't see like an adult like me do, but you'll see like a child probably want to emulate because they know that it gives them some reward that they crave, which are those likes. And this can obviously be pretty accurate for any social media platform, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, anything. It's not just exclusive to TikTok, which is where I kind of have a different view with this lawsuit, but we'll get to that later. So where they talk about unlicensed money transmissions, and we're going to go back to the live stuff, they avoid enacting proper safeguards around their virtual monetary system by avoiding registering as a money transmitter. Payment systems on digital platforms that facilitate the storage and exchange of money, like TikTok's, must have safeguards to protect users and prevent criminal activity, which is true. You have to do that in order to prevent things like, again, what they're referencing, money laundering and fraud. So those safeguards are necessary to protect users. For example, some jurisdictions require banks and peer-to-peer platforms to have adequate oversight, reporting, and consumer protections in place. But most of the virtual currency exchanging that occurs on TikTok, they don't do any auditing, allegedly, no documentation, or not even a cap on the amount of money that you can spend or receive. So if you wanted to, I guess, you know, give off like thousands of dollars, it's not like TikTok's going to jump in the middle and say, there's a daily limit, allegedly. According to this lawsuit, you can pretty much do what you want. So in a totally like separate lawsuit as well too, again, similar to this, they talk about other actual like TikTok trends that have caused deaths and illegal behavior. So one of those are challenges, right? So challenges are campaigns that encourage users to create and post certain types of videos on TikToks. So, you know, metas that we make fun of on YouTube. So one of them they talked about was this one right here, which is obviously kind of blaming TikTok for something I don't really think it has much control over. So for example, a mother of a 15-year-old Manhattan boy who died subway surfing, attempting to surf on top of a moving subway car, found videos promoting subway surfing on a challenge on his TikTok account. He also received an ad for a ski mask, which is used to hide an identity. Now, I didn't know that this was a thing. I thought Subway Surfers was just like a video game that you played on the side to retain viewers, right? Like literally, I could right now talk about Linux file management. I could talk about Linux package managers. I could sit here, talk about fucking apt-get, Pac-Man, yum. I could talk about the Linux kernel and the differences between BSD and Linux. And as long as I've got Subway Surfers on the side, you've probably sat through and listened to me scream that shit out. That's how useful having gameplay footage on the side really is. It's like watching clips of any like creator talk about shit and then just having Grand Theft Auto like online stunt footage running. People will just stick and watch it. I didn't know that actually subway surfing was a thing. I didn't know this was a fucking crime that was being done on the internet and shown. Guys, if you see a subway, it's best not to jump on top and surf it, okay? There's a good chance, a very good chance, you can die, all right? Do not do it at all. So again, when you go down even further into it, they actually mention another thing, like the Kia challenge, which shows kids how to hack the ignition and start many Kias and Hyundai car models. Dog, just say they're teaching kids how to like steal vehicles at this point. So they reference, obviously, the Kia challenge, which if you watch videos from channels like Tommy G, they actually have produced a documentary where they've shown Kias being stolen. I mean, this one literally almost hit a fire hydrant. Insane shit. And it's just a bunch of these like gangsters who are stealing Kias, right? And the way that they've stolen Kias is literally by accessing the wheel well right over here, and or the stealing column, and just effectively starting it, I believe, with like a USB cord. Now, from my understanding, these Kia vehicles did not have any immobilizers. Until 2011, most vehicles were manufactured with immobilizers. They said until 2011, electronic safety devices that prevent an engine from being started unless a proper key is inserted. A system present in most Hyundai models until 2016. So Kia Sportage models manufactured in 2010, the immobilizer system comprised of a transponder, an IntelliCoil, and a SmartTray unit. Kia vehicles manufactured from 2011 to 2021 and Hyundai vehicles manufactured from 2016 and 2021 use a steel key in comparison to a key fob and a push-button start mechanism lack immobilizers. So yeah, most vehicles that have engine immobilizers, right, to prevent people from like, stealing them with like, fucking stolen keys or any off-the-brand USB method like this didn't exist in this brand of vehicles, which allowed them to be stolen pretty relatively easily. So yeah, obviously you probably shouldn't buy a Korean vehicle from these specific years if you're worried about, your fucking car being stolen, especially when the methodology is taught so openly on sites like TikTok. So again, to go back to it, what they said was a study of adolescents and young adults that unfortunately includes people like Jack Doherty, to participate in dangerous challenges where engaging in online challenges to gain likes and views were reportedly as high importance to these people, right? So again, for them, it's getting those likes and views. That's all that mattered. It didn't matter if they were going to get arrested. It didn't matter if they were going to lose their lives. As long as, they got a viral fucking hit out of it, dying might have actually been worth it. And the thing is, obviously, TikTok has been fingered for this, but I think most social media is really to blame for it. But it really is something that I think has been quite popular. Some of these challenges have started, from my understanding, on TikTok, and they've died there, showing that obviously TikTok let this stuff roam free until, of course, the news started covering it. So where it gets filthy is when they talk about TikTok violating COPPA, right? Now, obviously in the United States, data privacy is not uniform. There's actually several laws that exist for different aspects of data privacy. So for instance, in the medical field, you've got things like HIPAA. If you're a child under the age of 13, you are protected or should be protected by a set of laws known as COPPA. So COPPA requires parental consent before collecting the personal information of children under the age of 13. And I think we all can understand that probably collecting information on children that are under the age of 13 is not good universally. So what they said is TikTok collected personal information from its users, that it knew were under 13 years old without first obtaining that parental consent. So what they've also said is TikTok did not properly screen out or age gate users under 13 from its platform prior to collecting any of that COPPA-covered personal information, despite being directed to children. For example, until 2019, TikTok did not require users to state their age at all to create an account, which obviously is never good. So TikTok's conduct through collecting this personal information without providing the requisite notice of its users violates COPPA and Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule, a federal statute and regulation that protects children's privacy and their safety online. So obviously, none of that is good information. And any website or really any group that wants to take advantage of children like this and access their information is not something that I think should ever be protected. And you might be wondering, okay, Muda, what about like Facebook and all these other companies? Why don't they go after them? The actual thing is they do. The government goes not just after TikTok, but there's another lawsuit that I'm showing you right here where they went after Meta and Instagram. So where they talk about Meta routinely violates COPPA in operation of Instagram and Facebook by just collecting personal information without ever acquiring that verifiable parental consent is what's really important for them, right? Now, obviously, this, one thing that I don't really like is when people don't, talk about these situations with complete impartiality. Obviously, the government does care about, children through this COPPA lens. It's not just TikTok, it's plenty of these social media companies that they're effectively going up against. So yes, they brought up the case, they talked about it specifically, but one thing that I don't like about this, and I'm going to again be scathing to the government, is the real punishments of violating COPPA, right? Like if you look at the penalties over here, COPPA violations can reach a maximum penalty of $50,000 and $150,000 a violation effectively. But the thing is, it's like, okay, so yes, if you're bringing up this cause, and there can be children that are or there can be a situation where obviously money is fined to some of these companies, as long as like there's no penalty where like they're restricted to operate their service or somebody is going to jail, a lot of this fine just gets added to what is a company's budget, right? Like if Facebook knows that they're going to get sued, or if TikTok knows, for instance, right, that they're going to get hit with these violations and they know that it's going to cost them like $100 million, what the fuck prevents them from going to their Chinese overlords and going, yeah, we just need $100 million as like, the budget for our punishment? And a lot of these things are factored into a budget. They know that at some point they'll get hit, and as long as they have that money just put away, they can walk away violating the privacy of children without ever really worrying about real consequences because they just have the money to pay for it. That's the real problem with some of these laws sometimes. It's like, yes, there is an actual punishment. It's just that if you're rich, the punishment doesn't matter. If you're poor, though, who gives a fuck? And especially when it comes to these multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar companies where they just have an infinite amount of resource to go through, it doesn't really matter. They can break the law and get away with it. So obviously, where I really think this whole argument is going to is not just about kids. I think the government doesn't really, in a lot of cases, care about children. I think it's just a gateway for them to go after something that they deem more serious. So back in 2023, this one letter was written to President Biden where they asked President Biden to act immediately on a national security order to force the sale of assets of TikTok to the US. So if you don't know, there's time that's ticking down where literally, I think it's January of next year, where TikTok has to give up its company or they risk being banned. Now, obviously, I don't think TikTok's going to ever sell their branch or do anything. They'll just take the ban and call it a day. But yeah, a lot of the US tech companies and politicians were talking about being, seriously worried about data being stolen from the US. Not just children, but really anybody. And of course, the influence that comes with a foreign country social media app in your country, right? So where they talk about this as public servants, we bear a profound responsibility to protect the well-being of future generations by mitigating potential hazards in a digital realm. This entails equipping users with the knowledge required to navigate online risks. Additionally, we must empower parents with the tools to effectively monitor and comprehend their child's online activities without compromising their future. So where they say TikTok must not be used as a tool of foreign surveillance and indoctrination, which this word is really important. So what I think really makes the government fear this is obviously it's a pretty realistic fear. Children get older, and the moment they hit the age of 18, they're effectively old enough to vote in a federal election. So if you control an algorithm, like for instance, it's reported that around 150 million people use TikTok, and if a chunk of them are young, they're going to just get older, right? So let's say that as that audience ages, right, and you've spent years sending whatever propaganda you wanted through the application. Remember, you can control the algorithm. If you wanted to push the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, it's entirely your choice as a foreign country, right? Now, in some parts of the world, some could consider that as election fraud or tampering or anything. But really, who's extraditing a Chinese CEO over to the United States or really any big country? As long as you've got that leverage and power, doesn't really matter. But the real fear here is obviously another country can in fact affect your elections, affect your politics, which theoretically can affect a lot of other things that come down the road as well. So obviously the government is pretty fearful, and I think it's a right to be fearful. I really don't think that team sports or politics is a place when your actual government can be manipulated theoretically by a foreign adversary like this. Now, obviously, the other thing that I really don't care about is China itself. China is a country that is very open about restricting other countries from accessing their side of the pond. For instance, if you're a US company and you want to access, their side of the world, you have to play by their rules pretty heavily. Like, for instance, I know that Apple will literally fight the FBI when they're in the US, but they will delete every VPN app when they're selling their shit in China, literally because that's the compliance they have to do. Now, obviously, accessing the internet in China is not something that is super difficult for you and I. If you wanted to go to youku.com, you could right now by entering a Chinese website's URL into your browser and get right there. If you wanted to go to Bilibili, you absolutely can watch Chinese YouTube. In fact, there's people who are uploading my videos on Chinese YouTube. This one guy uploaded COD 4DS. This guy liked COD 4DS so much, they were like, the Chinese people must see this. I'm glad that I've got some fans over in China. But of course, the more you go down into it, you'll just see straight video rips from my side. Now, obviously, it's a Chinese website. Can't really be hitting it with the DMCA, nor would I even bother. It's just people sharing like American content for Chinese people to consume, which is cool. There's a bunch of people even commenting on it. I don't know if they hate me. I don't know if they're like talking shit. I can't read it. And honestly, I don't want to even bother reading it. You can access things like Weibo, which again is literally Chinese Twitter. Now, again, the thing is, you and I can access a bunch of Chinese websites. China cannot access our websites. For instance, if you check the Chinese firewall test, which literally will check with servers in China if they can access American websites, if I wanted to see if Twitch TV is accessible, it's currently blocked. You can access it from mainland China. Now, coincidentally, if I go to kick.com, you can effectively go to Kick from China. That means I can go to kick.com, I can start a Twitch stream right now, or Kick stream, and I can literally have me showing Xi Jinping as Winnie the fucking Pooh and get away with it, all right? They wouldn't even, that would be, unless a Chinese, like, enforcer regulator got in and saw that shit, they'd be like, all right, getting rid of Kick right there and then. That's how the Chinese firewall works, okay? If you wanted to go to something like wikipedia.com and read up about Chinese war atrocities, yeah, not happening, okay? Oh, hell yeah. Do you want to go to youtube.com and watch shit? Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, that's blocked. Do you want to access the global town square known as twitter.com? Oh, wait, I'm timing out. Let me just get rid of one dot. Whoa, twitter.com is blocked. And of course, this is a pretty big standard. China will not let any foreign entity into their country. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that, if the Chinese people could actually go and get all the information uncensored and unfettered, it might be pretty dangerous for the Chinese Communist Party to operate the way that they do. So again, it's literally rules for thee, not for me. They can affect other countries and the children of other countries pretty much openly. And the moment you start crying to them, they will countersue and say, uh-oh, hey, we're just playing by the rules. There's no sympathy gained for me, okay? And I'm looking at it from a pretty nuanced perspective. But yeah, TikTok is pretty much hated by the government. And it's a pretty nuanced topic, but one that I really wanted to cover because honestly, looking at their lawsuits is insane. For every lawsuit that's delivered to TikTok, I think the ultimate lining I can give out of here is social media in of itself has become a pretty dangerous hole to go down into. And unless you're really moderating yourself, and if you're a kid, you might be susceptible to some really dangerous shit on here. And if you're a parent, you got to make sure that your child who's accessing the internet on a daily basis is protected. Have a talk with them. Tell them about stupid shit on the internet and tell them to be careful about what they're accessing. Yeah, the internet's a dangerous place, but it's only as dangerous as, when your parents don't really care. When I was a kid, they told me never to meet strangers on the internet, never to get involved with internet or turn into an internet digital stripper on the internet for money, okay? It's wild stuff, okay? Now it seems like you need laws in order to get that message passed. But ladies and gentlemen, wild shit indeed. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, I am out.